Mikhail Tal shows us his tactical geniusness with not just one knight tactics but two knight tactics in the same match. So this is the Royal Lopez Berlin defense on the board, and Tal is playing with the white pieces over here, and Peteris who is playing with the black pieces. So castles on the king side as of the fourth move, and knight captures the e4 pawn, and the pawn push to d4 happens, attacking the pawn back. So bishop to e7, looking to castle on the king side, Peteris, and the d into e5 pawn is captured now with the support of the knight. So the pawns get exchanged, and queen comes to e2, attacking that knight. So knight to c5 is played actually, but it was better to push in this d5 pawn. And yes, there is a danger of this bishop capturing this pawn, and you will have a double pawn here. But you could also counterattack by activating your rook quite early and attacking this b2 pawn very early in the game. So, but that didn't happen. So the rook comes to d1, and queen goes to e8, getting away from that extra attack of the rook. And knight to c3 by Tal, and the a6 by Peteris, attacking that particular bishop, and the bishop retreats to c4 and b5, continuing the attack, and the bishop now goes to d5, and again attacking, pinning that particular knight against the rook. So the rook goes to b8, and getting activated quite early in the game, and a3 by Tal, looking to push b4 and attacking that knight, but Peteris pushed b4 first, attacking the knight, and the knight goes to e4, attacking the Peteris knight, and knight retrieves to e6. He didn't want to exchange the knight, but instead he retrieves the knight to e6. But it was better to exchange the knight, or you could have just taken this pawn and get your rook activated and with control of the b file quite early in the game. So knight to g3 by Tal, and f6 by Peteris, attacking that pawn, and knight to h4 by Tal again. But it was better to capture one of these pawns like this. And now the knight captures the pawn, and the pawn push to f4 happens, getting ready for the attack on the king side. So an in between move, bishop to c5 check, and the king moves to h1 over here. And after that, the knight which is attacked retrieves to f7, and the pawn push to f5 happen, attacking the knight. And the knight jumps to e5, g5, and queen goes to c4, putting up more pressure on this pinned knight, which is supported by this knight. So the rook comes to b5 here, supporting that bishop which was attacked by the queen. And after that, bishop to g5 is played, capturing that knight, removing its protection from this particular knights. And after the pawn captures the bishop back, the rook comes to e1, attacking the rook again, queen again. And once the queen moves away, then comes this incredible move, knight to g6 basically. So here, if you capture, yes, you can capture with the pawn, but you can capture back this pawn, and this knight is basically pinned, and you cannot move the knight, and you lose the knight basically. And the king is also quite exposed now, getting it vulnerable for attacks from this already active white pieces of Tal. So because of that, the knight was not captured, and c6 attacking that bishop was played, and the bishop captures the knight, and the rook captures back, pinning the rook in place of that knight earlier. And then comes the knight to h8 move, tactics by Fischer. Yes, this knight is hanging, and this king can capture the knight, but your rook will fall as well. And this rook cannot move because it's pinned as well. So to counter this, d5 was played, attacking the queen and cutting off the pin from this particular rook. And also this knight is hanging, but unfazed, Tal captures this particular rook with an attack on the queen over here. So because of that, if you capture the queen, Tal's queen, your queen will be gone with an attack on this particular pawn. And this knight can even jump into this particular square, and if the bishop takes, you will have a passed pawn with the support of the rook. So because of that, the king takes backs, and queen to e2 is played, and bishop now comes to d7, and the pawn push to a4 happens, attacking the rook. The rook goes to b6, which is not an ideal square for the rook. And now the last rook comes to d1, and the queen now goes to f6, which is a blunder played by Peteris. It was better to bring your rook back to b8, and after that, which allows Tal to play this third tactics, probably knight to e4, attacking the queen and the bishop at the same time. So um, if you do not capture this knight, you could just put your queen over here, but if you capture, you will be in trouble because of this battery over here. So the in the game, d into e4, the knight is captured, which allows this check to happen. And once the king move, you could capture back this bishop and get back your knight. But Tal had other ideas, and he captured the pawn with an attack on the with a check on the king, and now the bishop retreats, attacking, covering that check, and which allows the next move, queen to g8 plus. And after that, the only move basically was to bring your queen and cut off this check. And because this bishop is pinned here and cannot go here because it will be a check, so the queen goes here, and then Tal plays a rook in, captures this particular bishop with a check here. So now you're forced to either move your king or capture back with your king. This queen cannot capture this rook because it's pinned with this hanging queen of white, basically. So you cannot capture this queen because it's the force move, and you will have to capture either with your capture with your king, or you have to move your king away, which will lose your queen. So after the king captures the rook, getting away from that pin, the queen is free now. The next check happens, rook to e1 plus check again. So once this happened, the king cannot go back because of the check into these two squares, because of the check of the rook and the queen. So it can only go to one of these squares, and once it goes, the queen falls. The queen takes the queen, and after that the king moves here, and then Tal just captures the one more pawn, allowing this pawn to pass in, and the pawn push to c5 happen, and f6 is played, and there is no way you can prevent this pawn from getting here, which will be the end of this rook as well, and basically you lose the match as well. So because of that, as of this position, Peteris resigned the game, and Tal won the match. So incredible knight tactics by Tal. This position, you can see this, but it's not that difficult. But to play this over the board in real time is pretty difficult. So because once you capture it, you can just bring your queen and with a check, and this bishop will fall. These are the kind of tactics that we have to look up to if we need to get above a certain level in chess. So thanks very much for watching. If you like the video, please like and follow and subscribe us. Thank you.